Please be seated. The court is now back in session, and again the floor is given to Judge Jean-Marc Lavange to continue putting further questions to the witness.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, can you tell us whether the documents I've shown you, the daily list of numbers of prisoners at S21, are those numbers that concern S21 and PRISA, or they are only lists for Phnom Penh? It appears that the first formula in force from the 17th of March up to the end of 1977, we find that it is the list for S21 Phnom Penh. Do you see that caption on the first type of formula, Office S21 Phnom Penh?
Donc, est-ce qu'on peut en déduire?
And can we therefore infer that these numbers are only for prisoners at S21 Phnom Penh, or the list also includes persons who are working in rice fields?
Usually the list of prisoners at the rice field were separate. Here it states clearly that it's about Office S21 Phnom Penh. However, this is my personal conclusion, and based on the format of this document, it belongs exclusively to Phnom Penh.
Je précise que sur...
Let me point out that on the second model or format, we do not find the specification S21 Phnom Penh. That being the case, if we look at the figures, we'll find that the number is more or less the same. Regarding the second format, are the prisoners being dealt with here only prisoners at S21 in Phnom Penh, or it also includes prisoners who are working on rice fields?
First format that did not mention the word, rather that mentioned only S21, belongs to S21 Phnom Penh. As for the forces at the rice field, they would state the force of the combatant and the number of those who were sick, etc. So this is the work of Phnom Penh.
Donc, si je comprends bien, il y avait...
So if I understand correctly, there is a difference in terminology as regards the persons who are on rice fields. They were referred to as combatants, whereas for those who are at S21, they were referred to as prisoners. Is that what you are trying to tell us?
Yes, that is correct.
Alors, je précise que
Let me point out that on the second form, as we've seen it on the screen, there's a more detailed description of the origins of the detainees. We have the same information regarding distribution between women and men, and we also have a table detailing the number of prisoners on a given day. That is, the number of prisoners who were brought in and the number of prisoners who were removed. And then we have a total at the end of the day. We have a number at the beginning of the day and a number at the end of the day. Let me specify that the table that I drew up, and I believe it was sent to all the parties, I believe all the parties have received it and no one is objecting to it. That table highlights a number of types of information. First of all, we have the maximum number of prisoners, and we'll find that in respect of the date of the 15th of October 1977, and the maximum number for that given period is 1,729 prisoners. That is document E3/10,008. We do not have the numbers for the following days, and the next document is dated the 24th of October 1977. That is document E3/10,009, and then we have the number of prisoners, which dropped very significantly because it is now only 953. So this is a drop of more than 760 detainees in a few days. The number of less important prisoners as of the 31st of December 1977, and that is document E3/10,035, and the number at the end of that day is 736 prisoners.
Judge Lavenge, could you please repeat document E3/10,008 and the date that you mentioned of 24 October 79 could not be the correct date. Please verify it.
alors le document
The document is E3/10,008 is a document drafted on the 15th of October 1977, and the number of prisoners at the end of that day is to the tune of 1,729. Document E3/10,009 is a document established on the 24th of October 1977, and at the end of that day, the number of prisoners was 953 prisoners. So we have a very significant drop in the number of prisoners. I do not know whether that table has been given to you, witness, and can you see the lines I'm referring to?
I cannot locate that document. Court officer, do you have the relevant page of the document?
Mr. President, meanwhile, may I ask some clarification as to the ultimate status of this document? Is this going to be attached to the transcript, or is it going to have some formal status at one point?
Alors peut-être pour répondre à Maître.
Perhaps, if I may respond to Mr. Copé, this document is, of course, part of the proceedings, and it is important that the Chamber should annex it to the transcripts of this hearing. Now, can you see the figure I have just indicated for the date of 15 October 1977?
President, court officer, could you check with the witness whether he has the relevant pages for him to review it so he can respond? The relevant document is E3/10008. As for those other documents, please take them away so that he doesn't get confused.
Et peut-être pourrait-on remettre également.
Perhaps the witness should also be shown document E3 10035. That is the document concerning the 30th of December 1977, established on the 31st of December 1977, and it shows the numbers of 736 prisoners as of that date.
Court officer, please take another document and give it to the witness. witness. Thank you, and allow me to get back to you. However, I get lost through looking through these various numbers of documents. Could you please repeat your question again?
Bien.
What I was saying was that there was an initial document, and it is document E3 10008, and that document corresponds to the list that was established on the 15th of October 1977. On that list, we have the number 1,729 prisoners, and I have noted that that was the most significant number on the documents that we have on record for that period. And we have the next document, which is E3/10009, dated 24th of October 1977, and which shows a figure of 953 detainees at the end of the day. This shows an extremely significant reduction in the total number in only a few days. And lastly, we have document E3/10035, which was established on the 31st of December 1977, and at the end of the day, the number of prisoners is to the tune of 736. Have you been able to acquaint yourself with these documents, and what comments do you have on them?
Responded to the questions to the chamber on a number of occasions that sometimes a large number of prisoners had to be removed so that there were spaces for a large number of incoming prisoners. And these three documents clearly stated the date as well as the number of prisoners removed each day. And I thank you, Your Honor, for giving me the documents to support my previous statements.
Alors, j'indique que
Very well. Let me point out that if we calculate the total number of prisoners who were brought in for each day and the total number of prisoners who were removed for each day, we have a total for 70 days considered, 1,506 prisoners detailed as having entered and 1,512 detainees who were removed. I asked the question whether that list of documents concerned only S21 or PRESAR. I would like to now show you a document, and it is document E3/2285.
alors, ce document,
The ERNs of this document are as follows: in Khmer, quadruple 0, 90, 94 to 90, 96. In English, it is at the following ERN: 00, 87, 31, 93 to 201. The title of this list is names of prisoners who were executed on the 30th of June 1977 at the section of Brother Usre. That is a list of 31 prisoners, or rather, says the judge, 91 prisoners. I note that at number 7 there is a person called Dom New, alias Dam, and it is indicated against that person, released in English. As regards that caption, released, does that correspond to the comments that you have already made, that it wasn't that they were released, but that they were executed?
Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to respond to this rather clear situation. The word release here, whether it means that the person was taken away and executed because a man arbitrarily arrested the person, so he has to conceal that. As for Hui at the rice field, sometimes he arrested people and shackled them before a report was made to Phnom Penh. Then I instructed them to immediately release the person. However, that was done in between the rice field and S21 in Phnom Penh only.
Alors, je précise que
I would like to point out that the number 91, that is the number of detainees smashed or executed, doesn't feature on the daily checklist corresponding to the dates. That is the form for the 1st of July. We don't find it, and it's simply indicated that 2 prisoners were removed, and we find that form in document E3/9985. That doesn't correspond to the numbers for the 30th of June 1977, that is document E3/9984, where the number of persons removed is 42. This shows that there were 2 categories of prisoners separated in terms of S21 and S24, but the situation is not as simple as that. I would like you to be shown another list, and it is list E3/9763.
est-ce qu'on a la barre E3?
Do we have document E3/9763? If you don't have it, I can give the witness this document.
Alors, sur ce document,
On this document, we have a list of names of prisoners whose blood was drawn. That list was drawn up on the 27th of October 1977. And on it, we have the names of 5 persons who were former members of the 152 Regiment, and it is indicated that those prisoners were from S21K. And if I understood correctly, that corresponds to S21D.
Sur la liste journalière,
On the corresponding daily list, which we find in document E3/97, or rather 8763, we find on it a number of persons removed, and they were from Regiment 152, and that number is 5 detainees. And there's another person who died of sickness. So for that day under consideration, we have 6 prisoners who were withdrawn from the list. Now, do you know whether the prisoners whose blood was drawn were prisoners who were being sought after at Presa, or they were prisoners who were selected among S21 prisoners in Phnom Penh?
As for the blood drawing subjects, usually they were selected from Phnom Penh, and I did not have a knowledge about that at Presa. In Phnom Penh, usually the subjects were those who were good looking and who did not have any infectious diseases, namely TB or sexually transmitted disease. As for the medical staff at S21, we could only identify the blood group with very limited knowledge. So allow me to clarify, the blood drawing experiment was done only in Phnom Penh.
je comprends bien que les prélèvements
I very well understand that the drawing of blood was done only in Phnom Penh, and you yourself have said that you had to choose prisoners who appeared to be looking well. My question to you is, who was in charge of selecting those prisoners? And was the person charged with selecting those prisoners would have Usre bring those persons from Presa to S21 with a view to having their blood drawn?
I am not sure about that. However, in Phnom Penh, mostly it was me who selected those prisoners. I selected those with good health, and I tried to avoid those with infectious diseases. And as I said, we did not have the medical facility to treat the TB. For sexually transmitted disease, we could treat it to a limited degree. And maybe Ho communicated with Ho in relation to that particular blood drawing incident.
Qu'est-ce que vous dites?
What do you mean by Ho communicated with Hui? Does that mean that Ho would ask Hui to send prisoners for their blood to be drawn?
That was one possibility because medics were not sent to draw blood at the rice fields.
Alors,
Well, I was saying this because on this list we see that these prisoners come from S21D, and there are other documents on the case file that mention other prisoners coming from S21D as well. And the only observation I was making is that regarding the daily checklist of prisoners, these prisoners appear to have been taken into account in these lists. Now, I would like another list to be provided to you. It's document E3/10-264. Khmer ERN 01-24-97-36 241. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong document apparently. Oh, okay.
alors,
Well, is this list you were talking about earlier, which you showed during the investigation, and regarding which you said that when they spoke about released prisoners, it meant prisoners had been withdrawn, rather. So is that the list that you were speaking about?
Yes, that is the list that I refer to. Thank you, Your Honor.
alors le titre de
Well, the title of this list is List of Those, quote-unquote, released on 26 in November 1977, Division 920, and it contains 100 names. I'd like to specify that if we refer to the daily checklist for 26 November 1977, we do not find 100 prisoners who apparently were withdrawn, but only 6 prisoners who apparently were withdrawn from S21 on that day. So here there's something that's rather odd. When you tell us withdrawn, were they withdrawn to be sent where? To Pressor?
Qu'est-ce que vous voulez dire par
What do you mean by withdrawn, taken out? Where were these prisoners sent to?
Allow me to make a clarification on a real situation based on my memory. There was one day, Brother Noon, Uncle Noon, called me to work with him. He said that members of 920 were sent to me to be smashed. And when those people came in, Ho prepared the list, and he made the title as the prisoners who were to be released. And after I got the list, I made a red annotation stating that for removal here means smash under the instructions of the upper echelon. These people were from Division 920, and after I saw the list, I made a red annotation that for removal, that is smash. From that time onward, Ho did not write anything further in relation add any information further in relation to the removal of prisoners. That document remained since the time that Nada was the chairman.
En l'occurrence,
Well, here we can see that Nat was no longer a leader for a long time, and furthermore, we will return to this list because there might be more research that has to be conducted. Apparently, certain prisoners appear on execution lists, but at a further date. Anyway, I now would like to turn to another topic. On the case file, we have a document, a video document, that's entitled the Ankar. This is document E3/719. It's a document which you do not know, but I would like to show a few excerpts from this document to you. First, there is a first excerpt which presents a portal, the entry portal to S21. So would it be possible for the AV unit to screen the video excerpt of the Ankar documentary? It's called Gate Entrance. That is as of 10 minutes 24 and 13 seconds to 10:24 and 15.
voilà, donc on ne voit pas très bien.
Well, we can't see very well, but could we then screen the image at minute 10, 24 seconds, at minute 10 and 24 seconds. Could we screen that image, please?
Voilà. Est-ce que
Do you remember if above one of the entry portals at S21 there was this kind of signboard, a red signboard with yellow letters? I would like to specify that what we see here on the screen is the image is not very, very good, and the ITU translated the document in English, And we find the translation at E3/719 and at ERN 01248-11. And the following is stated in English.
Constantly heighten the spirit of revolutionary vigilance. Ensuite, il y a un mot.
Then there is a word that cannot be read, illegible. And the sentence continues as follows.
Tricks and absolutely protect the nation, the revolution, the people, and the party. Alors,
Duik, does this ring a bell to you?
Thank you, Your Honor. At the gate of S21, there was no signboard. And the signboard depicting Punyaya Lycée was gone when we moved to S21. And let me bring in a real example that was on the anniversary of the party celebration and anniversary of 17 April. We posted a signboard, and the signboard stating the principle of the party: smashing CIA, KGB, and Vietnamese enemy, the expansionists and aggressors of Cambodian territory. And after the celebrations, we would remove all those signboards. The venue for the celebration to be held was located close to my house. There was a wooden house there to be used as the venue for anniversary celebration of the 17th April and also the anniversary of the party establishment. Yes, in fact, there were signboards with yellow letters posted during the celebrations of the 17th April and also the establishment of the party, but there was no signboard posted at the gate of S21.
Well, maybe here a point of clarification. Apparently the signboard was not found above the main gate to S21, but maybe above the east gate. It was on one of the sides of S21. Does this refresh your memory in any way? And did you see a similar signboard, whether it be above a gate or elsewhere?
We never erected the signboards with the slogans. As I said, we erected the signboards during the celebration of 17 April anniversary and anniversary of party's creation. The gate of S21 was the east gate, that was the main gate. And we never erected a signboard above that gate.
Fine. Now, I would like to screen a second excerpt of this documentary in which we can see a list which apparently contains the same daily checklist that we spoke about earlier. So this is the video excerpt called logbook, and it begins at 10 minutes 23 to 10.2403.
President, what's going on, Judge Lavenge? The witness appears not to understand your question.
Yes, I was asking the AV unit to screen the video excerpt of the documentary called The Ankar. The video excerpt called Logbook, and that begins at 10 minutes 23 and 46.
President, AV unit, please project the video clip, said President, as requested by Judge Lavanya.
Voilà, donc
So I would like to specify that the logbook in question it starts at 30 March 1977 and goes all the way to 3 December 1977. So during this period, the documentary makers said that they listed 4,296 prisoners who were coming in and 4,373 prisoners who exited. So do you have any comments to make, and have you already seen a similar logbook to the one that we have just seen in the video excerpt?
I have never seen such a big logbook, and I did not have the information in relation to the incoming and outgoing prisoners. At first, I was focusing on the confessions of the prisoners who were interested by Ankar. Sun Sen, who was already sent to the battlefield, was still interested in the confessions. I would like to tell you about the feeling of at one occasion when I was hopeless. Uncle Noon at the time asked me what happened to me, and he said I knew nothing what was going on at the time. So my interest and my daily work at the time was to focus on the confessions of prisoners. So in relation to the logbook concerning the number of prisoners, I have no idea. But at my house, I had set of documents that I can use to total the number of prisoners. So I do not want to make any comments in relation to the logbook, which I have not received physically, in physical copy.
Fine, but can you tell us which documents you had at home and which allowed you to calculate the number of prisoners at S21. Which documents were these? Were these nominal lists, or were these lists just with numbers?
Sometimes I wanted to monitor the incoming prisoners, so I asked my staff members to list down the names on the table or on the blackboards, and I had the daily logbooks at my house to review. From time to time, I totaled the number of prisoners on those lists together. I did not have the whole set of lists at my house, but I would ask my staff members to bring in the list of prisoners which were of my interest. And on some occasion, I would total the number of prisoners. And I also asked my staff members to note down the names on the small pieces of paper, which could tell me who I wanted them to interrogate.
So, if I understood you well, what the documents you had available were nominal lists that allowed you to account for the number of prisoners who had been detained at S21 since the beginning of S21's operations. But did this allow you to know the number of prisoners on a given day? Do you understand the difference? The total number of prisoners since the beginning of S21's operations and the number of prisoners at a given day. Were you able to calculate the number of prisoners on a given day?
On one occasion, I could calculate the total number of prisoners at S21. So I based my calculation on the documents of my staff members. Sometimes I was not able to have the full information in relation to the total number of prisoners. If I had calculated the total numbers of the prisoners from the beginning until the end, I could not do that. Usually I had calculated, sometimes I calculated the numbers of prisoners on one particular day or a given day.
Earlier, you gave us the figure of 10,000 prisoners, if I understood you correctly. So when you're speaking about 10,000 prisoners, you're not speaking about 10,000 prisoners since S21's operations. You're speaking about 10,000 prisoners who, according to you, were there at a given day.
When I did the additional calculation, the calculation that I had based on the list that I had since the beginning. And I did not know what I did with the calculation. So I used the numbers of prisoners from the beginning up to the 31st December of 1978. And Nguyen instructed me to take out all prisoners on the 3rd January the next year. So I did the calculation based on the numbers from the beginning and also based on the monthly list of prisoners.
Fine. Now I would like to turn to another topic, which is medical experiments. You provided us with many explanations on this topic. You spoke about Tachia's wife, who was dissected while she was still alive. So how do you know that Tachia's wife was used to study the anatomy of the human body? Was a request made to you? Did you partake in this anatomy class? Did you receive a report? Do you know who carried out this dissection?
Thank you, Your Honor, for putting this question. I have repeatedly explained about the medical experiment. At the time, I was the deputy. It was after I went to collect documents from the important leaders of the Lunar regime. There was one day when the S-21 was posted at the National Police Headquarters. I was at my office and the young boys came to ask permission from me to have a GSY for operation. And I said, please find another person for experiment. I thought at the time the issue was solved. However, later on, one day, Sun Sen called me and Nad to work with him. And he asked me what happened to Jill's wife. And Nad said, I asked the medic to get her for surgery already. And at the time, I replied that I told the young boys not to take her. And Nad was advised and admonished by Sun Sen that he should not have taken that person to go through medical experiment. So he was admonished by Sun Sen, and after that time onward, there was no more medical experiment. And as I said, from that time onwards, no medics came to seek instruction or permission from me to have further surgery on human beings.
So according to you, Tachia's wife was the only prisoner at S-21 who underwent that kind of medical experiment. Simply tell me yes or no.
Before I was transferred to S-21, I did not know whether there were other individuals underwent a medical experiment. But after I was the deputy chief, there was only one case of medical experiment.
Est-ce que vous vous souvenez?
Do you recall having mentioned on the list of prisoners, or female prisoners, an annotation indicating medical experimentation?
De cela.
Do you recall that?
I cannot recall that. My apology, Your Honor.
Alors, j'aimerais qu'on présente.
In that case, I would like the witness to be shown document E3/1671, and the ERN is 00171142 for the Khmer, 00181789 for the English, and 00296035 for the French.
Et si ce document est.
And if this document is available, may I request that it be screened?
Il s'agit donc.
It is about the person who is second on the list. It may well be that it's not the right page. It's page 00171142.
Voilà. Donc en deuxième.
So the second person on the list is a prisoner whose name is Ken Sakun, aged 23. She hailed from Prasat district and was the wife of Nyom Un. There is a handwritten annotation that has already been shown to you, witness. Do you recognize that handwritten annotation? And is that your handwriting?
It is my handwriting. And as for taking a female prisoner for medical experiment, I don't recall that. But if it was the case that prisoners were taken to test the poison, I recall that those prisoners were male. There was a case that the enemies confessed that they attempted to poison bull, and I was given with the. I was provided with the poison, a few capsules for me to test to the prisoners, and I later on gave the 4 capsules to T. As I said, I changed the ingredients inside the capsule already at the time with the paracetamol before I gave to T for testing.
Excuse me, witness?
Vous nous avez déjà expliqué.
You have already explained all that. And it is perhaps time for us to adjourn. Let me point out that I'll perhaps need another session to examine the witness. And tomorrow I will show you other documents relating to this issue of medical experiments.
President, thank you, Judge. It is now time for the adjournment, and the chamber will resume its hearing tomorrow on Thursday, 16 June 2016 at 9 a.m. Tomorrow the chamber will continue hearing Kangayo alias Duik. I am grateful to you, Mr. Witness. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has not come to a conclusion yet. You are therefore invited to come and testify once again tomorrow. Security personnel I instructed to bring the two accused and also the witness to the ECCC's detention facility and have them return into the courtroom before 9 a.m. and at 9 a.m. respectively.